Yo, this is for you. I am my number one fan. For you, this is for you. I am my number one fan. For you, yo, this is for you. I am my number one fan. For you, I am my number one fan. I'm trying to get you from here to there. I'm trying to show niggas it ain't fair. How I just came up, but you not there. Stuck in the same situation you been in. They got the plug, you got the sound. You not just a groupie that's hanging around. They got the stage, but you bring the lights. It's enough room at the top, we ain't gotta fight. I am my number one fan. I am that legend you stand for. When the crowd disperses.
Hey y'all, this your man Arnold.
This is Reese.
And you're listening to
the Neighbors Podcast.
Yes, brought to you every Monday morning, 6 a.m., fresh and brand new.
Yo, and you can listen to us iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, YouTube, Apple, iTunes. I'm sorry, that's the same thing. Google.
It's so
Deezer,
much. It's just everything. You know, you can listen to us on everything. Yo.
Yeah, it's like. Yeah.
And you know why you can listen to us on everything? Because you guys did that for us.
Yeah, most definitely. You know, there's such a demand for us.
It is.
You know, and we appreciate y'all.
Thank you very much, y'all.
Appreciate y'all. So, y'all, today we're going to talk about something that really affects the neighborhood.
Yes.
And it's been a couple weeks with this particular topic, and it's been hard for us to really discuss to some degree, but we have to get it out.
Yeah, because it I'm not going to say that it put a wedge in between certain individuals and different types of individual, but it does make you think about certain things and how you approach things. So
we are referring to the one. Let's start with the first piece,
right? Which
is Kobe Bryant.
Right.
We really would like to send our condolences not to just Kobe Bryant and Gianna and the Bryant family.
Yes.
But to all the other persons that was involved in that.
Yes.
And that's not just including the families that passed, but even the companies and everybody. Like, a lot of people were affected by this one incident.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we've heard so many different stories about it, about the helicopter not being right, the company not being right. They're not having a black box and the fog and, you know, accelerate. Like, there's so many different things about it. Right. And they said, from last thing I've heard, was it could take up to a year for them to really understand what really went wrong up there.
Right. So this is why the Neighbors Podcast didn't immediately jump on that.
Right.
Because we had to wait for everything to come through and, you know, we wanted to give the families time to grieve.
Right.
And then we had got a lot of feedback of why we didn't discuss it and why could we discuss it. And also everything that was pertaining to after the crash. And just a couple little things. But we just wanted to wait because we like to take our time with things because we don't need to be the first to say something because you don't want to always say something and you don't want to have to take it back.
Especially since we saw the backlash of TMZ with Kobe, period.
Right.
You know, but there's something else that's been bothering our community over the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
Which was that interview. Now, we understand we're in journalism ourselves.
Yeah.
We understand we're a part of the media, you know, albeit on a smaller scale, but we are a part of the media.
Right, right.
And so as we're talking, or what we are referring to, is the interview initially with Gayle King and Lisa Leslie.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion about that, overall, it was something that probably needed to be done to some degree, just to help put Kobe and his impact on people overall, right? Just understanding the man. But there's just this one thing that is still stuck, I think, on a little bit of everybody, which is Gayle bringing up his legal situation.
Correct. As Reese say, you know, it was good that she did have the interview, and coming from a perspective of someone that does interviews, there are certain questions that you ask people, and it's certain ways that you ask the questions of people. So like we know, even though we're not on a big scale, but we still operate on the same level that the bigger companies and stuff operate on. So there are procedures and things that you go through, and you have to make sure that the person that you interview, you have to ask them what questions are allowed and what's acceptable and what would they be willing to answer. So I personally understand what she went through and why she had to do what she did and why the interview was. And my only thing that I didn't like was because we didn't get a chance to see the whole interview yet, and it's been a while. We still haven't seen a whole interview.
I mean,
yet.
I've seen it. I've been able to see the whole interview.
Well, I haven't watched it, so
But
Reese has. I'm sorry, Reese has, but I haven't.
But
I just didn't like the line of questioning after you had got an answer, and you had already got an answer, but it seemed like she was reaching for something. But like I say, I understand that coming from the perspective of interviewing somebody, and that from the media standpoint, it is a question that people probably were wondering about, but I don't think that the timing was right for the questioning.
And so I'm on the fence. She could have asked a question, and she could have asked that question at that time. But you don't have to continue to pound the pavement with that question.
Right, I agree with that.
You get what I mean? Because she could have just as in the dignified way, in my opinion, that Lisa Leslie responded to that. She could have just left it alone.
Left it alone and went on to something else.
Right.
Right.
So continually asking, continuing poking the bear with that, it wasn't needed.
Right.
It really wasn't needed. And then the other part of that, as you've heard, everyone that's been on the fence, one way or another, of the response by Snoop and then the response by Oprah.
Right, right.
Which I think are the two of the main responses. Then you have like a Susan Rice, a Ricky Smiley. Like you have everybody else that kind of chimed in.
You have a whole bunch of different, but those two right there, I think, were the most important of the responses because they generated something else.
Because I think, on one hand, Snoop, he was representing, in my mind, Kobe and Lisa, where Oprah was representing Gayle.
Right, and I don't think that. Okay, we can say that. Yes,
that's just my opinion.
But it's fact that your opinion is fact. So that's what makes it more important because it is fact. That is a factual statement that you just stated, and I don't think anything was wrong with the fact because Gayle and Oprah are friends,
right?
And Kobe and Snoop were friends,
right?
Now with the response from Snoop to Gayle. Do I think that he was wrong for what he said about correcting her about, disrespecting Kobe and the family and all that? No. I think his tact could have been a little different. Only because I understand that the following he may have and the things that he has done to get to the point where he's at.
Right.
Snoop is 51, 52 years old.
Somewhere around there.
He's my age, So there is certain ways that you talk to women and certain ways that you talk to different other people, But and Gayle's like in her 60s. So I don't think that he should have came off, even in anger. I don't think he should have came off the way that he came off. It could have been a different way to say the things that he wanted to say. And I understand that he was upset.
So Snoop is 48 and Gayle is 65.
Okay. So I understood that he was upset, and we do in the moment when we're in the heat of the moment, we do say things that we regret,
right?
But because I think he was so heated up behind the situation that he just carried on. So I find fault with him and I find fault with her, but I respect both of their opinions and I respect what they both did. I think they both were correct, and to some degree,
So for me, I want to put, in my opinion, I believe that where Snoop was coming from with his response is almost I'm not really defending Kobe or Lisa in his response.
Right.
That's not the vibe I'm getting.
Right.
I'm getting the response of, hey, everyone that has done something negative or wrong, that might have been misconstrued as something crazy.
Right.
We can't live it down.
Right.
Especially in this culture right now of black men and their how they are perceived,
Right.
i.e. Kevin Hart. You know, he made a comment about his son years ago with the doll and beating him over the head with the dollhouse.
Uh-huh.
But then Kevin Hart can't do the Oscars because of that.
Right.
But yet right now we have candidates, you know, that cannot or should not be running for president because of their platforms they've boosted themselves up off of
Right.
to get where they are right now.
Right.
Like, should they really be held even more accountable than what they've been? And this is where people are having a problem with Oprah. Like, yo, you're doing all these shows and miniseries and mini movies and things like that are really tearing down a certain group of people. And you're technically a part of the group of people just by looking at you.
Right.
But that's not who you support.
Right.
You don't support that group
Right.
at all. You know, and that's the unfortunate thing. And you know what's more important? Is it the color of your skin or the color of money?
Correct.
I think that's what it comes down to. And so for Snoop, who comes from a place of having at least a little bit of money, he doesn't have Oprah money, but he has a little bit of money.
Right.
What is that relationship like?
Right.
You know, and I think he was just calling a spade a spade.
And like I say, I agree with his response.
Right.
Where he was absolutely correct.
And I think he was also calling out the total agenda. I think that's what it really comes down to. He's calling out the agenda.
But it was also another thing that I didn't like that Gayle did was when she got on and responded to what Snoop said and how she felt that CBS didn't consult her and putting up whatever the little segment that they put up. And which I understand that, because if you don't have full control over whatever show you do, then anything can be put up without your permission because you don't have control over it. And my thing was, I needed personally for everybody to take responsibility for their actions and not to say, oh, I'm blaming this person, I'm blaming this, I'm blaming that.
And I think that's where Gayle fell short. I don't think she took responsibility for herself.
her actions, right? Because she immediately blamed CBS,
right?
You know, so I think she and Gayle's a beautiful lady. She's a beautiful sister. She's a very good journalist, you know. And even though whatever some of us may think that how she got her job, she does good work. You know, regardless of however she got there, how we think she got there, she's there and she does do good work. But like I said, she didn't want to I think she should have took the responsibility for what she did. Just like Snoop was supposed to take the responsibility for what he said and did.
And he did apologize, and she did accept his apology.
But was his apology forced, or was his apology sincere? Because he did not apologize until Susan Rice.
Yeah,
Susan Rice made her comment and said what she had to say. And again, it's all about tact. It's all about how you tell a person something. You know, because it's easy to just to ramble a bunch of words at a person. But when you have a constructive and an intelligent thought and articulate that thought to that person in a particular way, then the person should be able to receive it in a good way. You know. And
see, you know what I think, as I mentioned a few moments ago about agenda, I don't think people understood the legacy of Kobe Bryant until he died.
Right.
And I don't think the impact was understood until he died.
Right.
And truth be told, his impact was beyond color lines.
And you're right.
And it was above gender lines.
Right. You're right.
So his impact was something I believe. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. And probably because we took it for granted because we lived during this time, but we did not realize really what type of impact he had done.
Because he had a strong impact, especially in the WNBA. He won an Oscar,
right,
for a short film, I believe it was, or animated film.
Yeah.
And I think D.L. Hughley says something about his case where he needed to go, and I'm a strong believer of this. Sometimes God puts you through things that you need to go through to get you to where you need to be at. So for him to go through what he went through with his case in Colorado, and for him to come out the way he is, because he was a strong advocate for anything that had to do with any woman, regardless of race and color, right? And he had all daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Like he really was. He was
the
like
irony.
he was the greatest dad ever.
Right.
We just didn't get to see that of him because we're not with them every day.
Right.
We only get to see what they
put out there.
Right. So what he went through, and he made a bad decision. Whatever the issue was that happened in Colorado, the courts decided something different. And regardless of how we felt, it made this a better man.
Right.
He became a better man for this. And this is what Lisa was trying to convey. That, everything, he's done a lot of work. And like you say, you never knew how much he did until he passed.
Right.
So I agree with Snoop on that, of stop trying to tarnish the legacy of all black men. Because there was an incident with Nate Parker where he had beat his case. And then because of the film that he was bringing out, The Birth of a Nation, about Nat Turner,
mm-hmm.
he had got a lot of backlash from that.
Yep.
So when is and being a black man and seeing how things are in America and seeing how we're treated in America, you do see that sometimes the powers that be always try to destroy the image of us. They don't ever want to see nothing positive.
And here's what's funny though, and I'm gonna tell you, it is not. In my opinion, it is not being received very well.
No, it's not.
Who's been winning? I mean, I'm sorry, the one old man, he's not young anymore, but the one man who's been winning all the Oscar type nominations and the awards for the last month or so, who played Joker, Mr. Phoenix.
Yeah.
What is the one thing he's been talking about? He's been talking about this race and gender issues.
Right.
He's been bringing a lot of awareness to it.
Yep.
And you know what's funny? He's not asking for the applause, because I've looked at him, and as he's talking, he's almost like, yo, stop all the clapping, because y'all clapping for it. That's the impression that I get.
Right.
Especially when the look on his face, like, y'all clapping because y'all think I'm making such a great speech, but do you understand that, hey, because he even said it himself, he didn't deserve some of that.
Right.
Right. Like, hey, he messed up, and he kept getting second chances where these other people are not.
Right. Exactly.
So there are people that are genuinely out there that understands the struggle of a certain marginalized group.
Right.
You get what I mean? And I can't just say black people, because black people are not the only ones that's marginalized.
No.
I mean, I think we get a bad rep overall because our issues keeps being broadcast out there in the media like 100% of the time. But I do believe that there are other groups that are marginalized.
Right.
Take a look at our wall, for example. that shows that too. But anyway, but I think that there are some people that are just continually buying. Our own people are buying into some of these issues, and I do believe, in my own opinion, and Oprah, I would love to work with you and talk to you. I know that'll never happen, but I just think that Oprah is one of those persons that pushes that agenda and supports that agenda.
And like you say, I hate to agree with you on that, because you would think that because of where she's at in her life and what she went through and the things that she have, and then a lot of that stuff is because we only get to see what they put out there.
Right.
So you would think the greatest of this, and when you actually look, it is a different agenda with Oprah, and I also too would like to work with her one day. But hey, from the things that she says and the things that she do, it's two different things.
I mean,
and I understand her alliance is different, because her alliance, and it's just my opinion, her alliance has a monetary value to it now.
And this goes back to one of our conversations. R and I had a conversation over the last couple of weeks about what is your price.
Right, because everybody has a price.
What is your price?
It may be a bag of chips, and it may be 3 million bags of chips.
And I spoke to my wife, and I had asked her, like, hey, because she and I have our own podcast.
Right.
So what would it cost for us to have certain people on our podcast? She's like, nothing. I'm not interviewing them. Nothing. I'm like, you sure? She's like, yep, I'm not. So you would miss out on. So for an example, if you had an opportunity to interview, let's say Gandhi. I'm just going to throw a name out there, right? Let's say you got a chance to interview Gandhi. Well, everyone did not take Gandhi's role in India or whatever else, like,
right,
positively.
Right.
How about Hitler? Well, we had a chance to interview Hitler. Would you talk to Hitler?
And you who would? I mean, you'd be surprised what you wouldn't turn down.
I mean, Napoleon.
Yeah,
if Napoleon says to you, "Listen, I can't." I was going to try to do a French accent. I can't do one, but but he said, yeah. But if he said to you, "Listen, like, let me do this interview, and I'll give you an island."
Yeah, so Mr. Napoleon, could you tell me exactly what you're going to sit down with the interview?
Right.
As a child, what happened when you're going to automatically sit down with the interview? So you are correct, and like we said, we had this conversation, and because basically we had the conversation because we were trying to figure out what would motivate people to do the things that people do,
right?
Especially people that turn their backs on their own kind, So what would motivate you to do that?
I mean, like,
and how far will we go as human beings?
Like, for an example, why would you think? Because we talking about people turning on their own kind, and kind does not necessarily mean race,
right?
So I'm prefacing by saying this: what made Mitt Romney vote against his group?
And we know. I mean, we know.
But you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, we know.
So what made him turn upon his own group?
Mm-hmm.
The Republicans were like, yo, we all Republicans, we all this, whatever else. And he was the one person that voted against.
Right.
So what changed? What made the difference? Because at one time they said everybody was going to vote one way.
Right.
And he's the only one that didn't.
And he looked at his priorities and he accessed everything, and he said he couldn't go against God. Whatever he was taught and learned, he couldn't go against it. So that was his price.
So again, everybody has a price.
Everybody has a price.
So and what is that? What does that mean? So his price was, I guess in his mind, eternal life. Like, even though if I die here, like, I want to be in the pearly gates.
Exactly. You're right. Everybody has a price.
Right.
So there was a lot of backlash from Snoop and Gayle. There was a lot of controversy as far as distinction between males and females, and like I say, why must we in America continue to tarnish the legacy of certain individuals, whether they be black, white, whatever, people of color, but we have for some reason, America loves to tarnish these images and destroy them. Why? I don't understand that.
Well, again, as the agenda. The agenda is to do what? Continue to paint certain groups of people as inferior, right?
And I understand that because that's what systematic racism is. So I understand that. I understand that there are things set in place long before we and you were born that's going to affect us and continue to affect us unless we do something about it and try to figure out a way to do something about it. But it's just, you would think in this day and age, the way things are, certain things you just don't touch. Certain things you just don't do. You allow certain things to be a certain way. And don't get me wrong. Right is right. Wrong is wrong. When you're supposed to check something, you check it. But when you check something, make sure that you have your facts. Make sure that when you check it, it's correct. And you're not just checking it just to be, because somebody said, "Go, I think you should check that. This person didn't do this the right way. You should go say something to them." And I don't think that should be that way.
But if you think about it from a journalistic perspective, Gayle did she went about it the way journalists are going about things right now.
And
in reality, they're chomping at the bit as something juicy.
Right, because they knew that was going to be the main topic. It didn't matter what he did, how much
Right.
good he did. It's always that one bad. And just like you said with Kevin Hart, no matter how we feel and think about Kevin Hart, no matter what you may feel and think about how Kevin Hart's career is or whatever, Kevin Hart did not get a smack in the face until he was put in a position to be somewhere and someone said, hey, remember this?
Right. Right.
And he had already apologized for that.
He did.
It wasn't like he didn't take it back. He took it back.
Right.
But because the powers that be did not want this, and I'm not going to say because he was black, because Chris Rock ended up doing the Oscars twice.
Right. But again, has Chris Rock done anything that publicized? Like for an example, I'll put it like this.
Has he done
Richard
anything
Pryor,
that anybody know about?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, because
apparently not.
Because if it was Richard Pryor would do jack.
Yeah, he wouldn't even care.
Red Fox wouldn't do jack.
Yeah, they wouldn't care because that was the difference. That during that era, I think that what we're going through now in these the 20s, and opposed to what they was going through in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s was everything was a little different. You kind of knew your place at the way things were. So when you spoke out because this was the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't to speak out just because it was to go along. You know, you spoke out because something happened. There was an injustice here. Right. And this is what I'm going to speak out. No, you're not going to do this to me. No, you're not going to do that to my friend. Or no, you're not going to do this way.
Yeah.
And this is wrong, and I'm calling you out on it. But today a lot of this stuff is because of social media, and I love social media. I love social media. I think social media is a curse and a blessing at the same time. But because people want a bunch of followers, people want a bunch of likes, and people want all this stuff, people say anything and do anything that they want to do.
And not understanding that when you do that, there is a consequence to it.
Right.
There's pros and cons to everything.
And the biggest, and I hate to say, the biggest person that utilizes that is the guy that's in the White House right now, because he does and says anything that he wants to do without any consequences. And then that looks bad, and that makes other people think that they can do this and say and lie and cheat and steal and just get away with whatever you want to get away with.
See, I think he does have consequences, but does he care about those consequences?
No, he doesn't.
Because unfortunately, if something goes the wrong way, now all of a sudden that person is a bad person. That person doesn't know what they're talking about. So it's always a way of flipping the script on that individual.
Yeah, because he is the biggest person you ever seen. If there is a person that would never take responsibility for anything that they've done, he is it.
Right.
You would never have him at a AA meeting. No, AA meeting saying, "Hi, my name is Donald, and I'm an alcoholic."
Right.
Because no, I'm not an alcoholic with a drink in his hand.
Right.
Right. No, I'm not. Pour some more wine in there, please.
So that's the difference. I think, unfortunately, we're being led by someone at this time that's not taking responsibility.
Right.
And because of that, others feel as though they feel entitled that they could do the exact same thing.
Correct.
And so while they're doing that, do they understand that it's actually empowering other people that feel as though they could do the exact same thing?
And I think he understands that. I think he really understands.
Yeah,
that.
but so because he is president, people are holding him. Oh, as long as he's president, I think he'll be okay. I don't think he's not gonna have any other backlash.
I don't know.
I think once he gets out,
I don't think. Yeah. Even when he's done, I don't think nobody's gonna come after him. I don't think nobody's gonna say anything to him.
No, I think what can happen after he gets out,
right?
That's when they can, because a lot of things they keep saying. Well, he's a sitting president. The key word is sitting.
Listen, and I don't mean for us to get off the topic with that, what we're talking about with Gayle and Snoop and all that, but even though he's a sitting president, if the roles were reversed and it was Barack, or even if it was another person of color that was sitting there, they'd have voted to impeach him.
See, I think that's the key. Out of 45, you only have one minority.
Right.
So, we're taking the assumption of, hey, you have this one minority. If this happened, he'll catch it, right?
Right.
Only because that's the way America has been operating.
Right.
But guess what? Our one minority didn't have these scandals.
Right. He didn't have anything.
You get what I mean?
Nothing.
So because he didn't have these scandals, he started off with the social media thing.
He didn't have anything. And this goes back to when I talk about the image, how the powers that be want to destroy our images. If you notice, everything that 45 does, right?
Yeah.
He's trying to destroy the image that we had of Obama. He's trying to just write that from the history books.
Right. He's trying to, but unfortunately you can't.
And this goes back to how the image of successful black men are, how when you see a black man's picture, even if he is a criminal or he committed a crime, you see his mugshot first. And it's always either darkened or they put it in a bad light, whereas that, this makes it look like it's the most evilest thing. When you see him, you're like, oh my God, I'm scared of him. Lock up everything.
Right.
And
I think that's where Gayle was. Unfortunately, she's trying to paint that picture for Kobe.
So do you think Gayle was used? Or did she take it upon herself?
I mean, just for the level you assume.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. For where she is in her career, you would assume that she has a little more clout,
right,
to maneuver or power or influence, however, whatever word you want to use, to maneuver that whole conversation. Now, whether or not she has it or not, as a fallacy or whatever it might be, that's something else. But the assumption is she has the power to do that. And so, would I say she was used? I mean, if you want to put CBS out there as a scapegoat, go ahead, you can. But I don't think that's the case.
Right. Because what it comes down to as being a journalist and someone that does interviews, you can either not ask a question or ask the question.
You could ask the question, and then if you really wanted to ask the question again, you could reword it. You got to come right with the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Or ask it later on down in the interview itself, not back to back. You get what I mean? So I don't think she was used. I just think that might have been one of the 70 questions or whatever else that might have been on the list to say.
Uh-huh.
And that's one of the ones she chose, and she chose to stick on that question more than 3 or 4 times.
Right. So it goes back to she should have took responsibility for her actions.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think she should have taken responsibility.
She took responsibility for her actions.
And I think that with Snoop apologizing, in my opinion, I think he's taking his responsibility. I mean, because everybody has, all those persons who have responded one way or the other, they agree that Snoop overall did not respond very well with that.
Right.
No one has. I have yet to hear any one person say, "Hey, Snoop, you were totally right." I haven't heard that.
Right.
I haven't heard that.
Right, because he like I say, he was correct into responding.
Right.
But it was the way he responded.
Right.
It's what he said and how he said it.
Right. So I can't. Again, I'm not faulting Snoop.
No.
It's just, it's the right way to say things.
Right.
And again, Gayle, I'm not faulting you either. It's just the right way to say things.
That's right. And and Gayle, we understand that you had a job to do.
Right.
And Snoop, we understand you had a job to do too.
Right. So as we move forward, and I think when it comes down to it also, our view of truth is so individualized right now, that the truth is so skewed and so broad. Like I'm gonna be honest with you. How can I not call my pet a pet anymore? Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
Like I can no longer call my cat my pet. Like
Why?
really? Like is that where PETA's going right now?
This is where we at
really,
now, right?
PETA? Really seriously? So what am I gonna call my cat?
Right. I got to give him a name now.
Cause look for real, like I'm not one of those persons that's like, oh yeah, let me hug on my cat and love my cat and kiss
him
my
in the
cat.
mouth. No.
Heck no.
He's an animal.
I am not doing that, and I don't agree with that.
But
So, what y'all gonna put me in jail because I don't agree with that?
I don't know. And eventually that's what it seems like it's going to come to that.
Right.
So when do we stop this? When do we start nipping stuff in the bud,
Right.
so to say?
Right.
When do we start taking a handle and grabbing a hand on these things?
Right. And when in reality, there's that line in the Constitution that tells about 3/5 of a person.
Right.
Yo, some of us are still at 3/5.
Yeah, especially in other people's eyesights and minds.
So the truth is, you're putting the animals over the 3/5.
Right.
How does that work?
Which you have always done.
So as Arnold said, we all have a job to do.
Right.
To be honest, we have a job to keep each other accountable, and we also have a job to make sure that not just love ourselves and building up our communities and building up each other and finding ways of really
cohabitate.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Don't worry.
I was getting there.
That's what the co-host is for.
Right. But just making sure that, hey, y'all, like we are really in this together.
Right.
Correct. The Neighbors is global. It's not just literally 2 or 3 blocks, in a community, a mile. No, it's the global.
It's the whole entire world.
Right.
That's what it is.
So if we have a chance to talk to, what's her name? Greta?
Yeah.
Look, Greta, if you want to sit down and talk with us, we'll talk to you. We'll talk about, global warming because I believe in that too.
Yeah.
Look,
you can't tell me that it's not no global warming because we have not had a winter yet.
Right. and truth be told, like all these humans on this earth, how much heat are we generating?
Exactly.
I don't care about. Truth be told, I don't care about the waste. I think we got to deal with the population first.
Yeah,
we're warming up the planet by ourselves.
Right,
and then you get into the waste that also does what? What does that do? Listen, I looked at the Matrix a whole lot, and the machines was harvesting our heat.
Exactly. Exactly.
Our heartbeats
that's
and things like that.
That's how they generate it. That's right.
So
turn it into energy.
So do you really think? And this is just me and my own conspiracy theorist mindset from time to time. Are we really in the Matrix, or are we on Earth? Like where are we?
Right.
Like, where are we really?
Red pill, blue, right?
Right. So like what's really going on? So,
yeah.
But I appreciate y'all. I know we're a little long today, y'all.
It's all right. It was a good topic because in the Neighbors Podcast, what we do, and like Reese has said earlier, it's not just about us. It's about all of us. That means everybody. We all need to come under. We all need to come together, unify, and try to work toward the same goal and unify everything that we need to unify. But sometimes you do have to take things, and some things do take a little more precedence than other things because you need to weed that out.
Right.
So you can continue to work on and progress and progress the way you need to progress.
Right.
But you know exactly what the Neighbors Podcast is about. We don't lie to you. We don't hold no punches. We give you facts. And the majority of things, it may be our opinions, but they're factual opinions. And anything can be disputed if you like to dispute it. And if you like to dispute it, hit us up. You know how to find us. You know how to DM us. You know how to get us. And if you don't know how to spell our name is NayborsPodcast. And you can find us on just about all platforms.
Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Yes.
iTunes, Google, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, and a whole plethora of things.
And if you can't find us there, hit us on our webpage. www.NayborsPodcast.com.
NayborsPodcast, y'all.
Yes.
Thank y'all very much for tuning in today.
We appreciate y'all.
And, I know we're a little longer than your usual ride into work.
That's all right, y'all.
But we'll get it together, y'all.
Right, we're riding with you in the elevator.
Right. All right, y'all. Talk to y'all a little later.
Have a blessed week, y'all.
Peace.
You are the agent and we look for change. You conquered the pressure and you did not fall, but you are a diamond and what's more than gold.